بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم
Assalamu alaikum. Today it is the 25th of May 2022 and it is a Wednesday. In our series Reflections on the Holy Quran, this is broadcast number 317, and we are looking at the meanings of the words in chapter 2, verse 101. And this is the fifth broadcast in that series. Just to remind you that these broadcasts are brought to you courtesy of LASER, which is Lahore Ahmadiyya School of Education for Education in Religion, which is a subsidiary, a part of Ahmadiyya Anjuman Islam. The Ahmadiyya movement was created by Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad of Qadian, who taught us that although people say that after the Holy Prophet Muhammad another prophet can come, this is untrue, because the Holy Quran says that the Holy Prophet was Khatamun Nabiyyin. And the Holy Prophet explained its meaning by saying, La Nabi Abadi, there is no prophet after me. So that means no prophet, whether an old one or a new one, can now come. Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Sahib Rahmatullah Alayh claimed that in accordance with the Hadith, he was a reformer, a mujaddid. And further, that Hadith also speaks of the coming of a Messiah and Mahdi. And he said that these are two titles and they represent a particular mujaddid's work. And as such, they apply to him. He is the mujaddid, who's to be called the promised Messiah and Mahdi. He also pointed out that Muslims are too hasty in calling each other kafir. The Holy Prophet Muhammad had said that if one reciter of the kalima says to another reciter of the kalima that you're not a Muslim, then it is the person saying it who is actually a kafir and heretic. You can see how seriously the Holy Prophet wanted to discourage this. So everyone who recites the kalima should regard everyone else who recites the kalima as a Muslim and should not bring themselves under this fatwa, under this verdict of the Holy Prophet Muhammad. Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad also taught that Muslims say some prophetic revelation has been missed out from the Holy Quran. And some prophetic revelation which is in the Holy Quran is abrogated. He said that this cannot be right because God says in the Holy Quran that I am revealing the Holy Quran and I'm going to be its guardian. So when God says He is the guardian of the Holy Quran, then how can anything be missed out from it? How can anything in it be abrogated? So what is the point of revealing something and then 10 minutes later abrogating it? And Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad Rahmatullah Alayhi said that jihad is a fundamental duty of every single Muslim. But jihad as defined by the Holy Prophet Muhammad, who, while returning from fighting, said Muslims are returning from the minor jihad to the major jihad. And he went on to explain that the major jihad is jihad bin nafs, a struggle against your own soul, a struggle against your own desires. The Holy Prophet called that the greater jihad. But of course, if you're attacked with the sword, then you're perfectly justified in responding to that attack with the sword. There's no point in making a fine speech to a person who's trying to kill you about beauties of Islam and so on. The first thing is to protect yourself from death. So let us turn to the Holy Quran and the verse that we're going to look at today. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم ولما جاءهم رسول من عند الله مصدق لما معهم نبذ فريق من الذين أوتوا الكتاب كتاب الله وراء ظهورهم كأنهم لا يعلمون. And when there came to them a messenger from Allah, verifying that which they have, a party of those who were given the book through the book of Allah behind their backs, as if they knew nothing. So today we are going to look at Al-Kitab and Kitab, and basically the root is the same, so you could say that's one word, I guess. Allah and Okay. Now, it's the root of both the words is Kaf, Ba, Ba. And using those three letters, we find 7 words in the Holy Quran, and in total they occur 319 times. 260 times we have the noun kitab. It's a common word in Urdu, means a book. And so it's a noun. And then 49 times we have kataba. And the rest of the occurrences are in ones or twos, but these are common words in the Urdu language, like katib, someone who writes, maktub, what is written. Generally that refers in Urdu to a letter. So it's to write, but interestingly, it's also used in the Holy Quran to stand for an order, a law, to prescribe, to ordain that you must do this or what, etc. Or give writing. So the basic meaning of the word al-katbu is that you take 2 pieces of something, bark of a tree or leather or something, an animal's skin or whatever, and you sew them together. That's why katabtu siqa'a is I have sewn the water carrier. And those of you who know India and Pakistan and so on would know that there are people who come round and they have this contraption called mashk, and they fill it with water, and it is leather that is sewn and tied together. Now, although, and it means writing because you join together letters to make words, but it also applies to verbal communication, I guess, because you take words and you put them together to make a meaningful sentence. So the Holy Quran in chapter 2 verse 1 says about itself, Alif Lam Mim Zalikal Kitabu La Raiba Fi. This book, this is referring to the Holy Quran, there is no doubt in it. So some people attach there's no doubt in it with the following text. Some attach it to the preceding text, that there is nothing to be doubted in this book. Again, the Holy Quran in chapter 19 verse 30 says, Inni Abdullahi atadiyal kitab. I am a servant of Allah and He has given me the book. And we have Al-Kitabu, the first word, and it's basically that's the basis. But then what happened was, and that is that something on which there is writing, and then the compilation of these things came to be called Kitab as well. I mean, the Holy Quran says, yes, aluka ahlul kitabi an tunazzila alayhim kitabam minas samai. Chapter 4, verse 153. O Muhammad, people of the book, they say that you should bring down from the heavens a book. And by a book, it means some writing, a page on which something is written. And the Holy Quran itself refers to paper. In chapter 6, verse 7, it says, وَلَوْ نَزَّلْنَا عَلَيْكَ كِتَابًا فِي قِرْطَاسٍ. And again, qirtas is a word of Urdu as well. And the Holy Quran is saying, even if we had revealed to you a book written on paper, kitab fi kirtas, kitab written on paper. Now, what happens is that, of course, the first step is that you conceive of something, some idea or whatever. So whether it's an estimate or a guesstimate or a supposition or a duty or whatever it is, it's an idea in your head. And then when you express it, and then the final stage is that you preserve it in writing. So basically, with anything, it's these three steps. At first you think about something, then you express it with your tongue, and then you write it down. So intention is the beginning, and writing is the final, whatever you want to call it. But it also means, but when you say writing, that means something that is confirmed, that is going to happen. In chapter 58, verse 21, God says, Kataballahu la aghlibanna ana wa rusuli. That it's Kataballah, it's God's writing that my Rusuls, my messengers and I shall prevail. It's my writing, Kataballah. I have written it. You see, kitab means a law, an order, something that's going to happen because, metaphorically, we say, someone says something, ask you to do something and say, do this or whatever. And you say, where is it written? Where is this order that I should do this? Another one, chapter 9, verse 51. قُلْ لَن يُصِيبَنَا إِلَّا مَا كَتَبَ اللَّهُ لَنَا. Say, nothing can harm us except that which God has ordained for us. Here, God ordaining something is Kataballah, but God has written down. So that becomes an ordinance, that becomes an order. I guess it could be that, it's like the law normal parliaments pass. And, people speak a lot and so on and so forth. But what is the law? And that is what is written. But even that doesn't have any force until the queen, the head of state, signs over it. And it's after that that it becomes enforceable. So you can see that sometimes we just read things and move on. But if we think about it, I mean, every year we have Ramadan, and we recite this verse, "O believers, fasting is ordained for you as it was ordained for those before you." So, what are the Arabic words? Kutiba alaykumus siyam. Kutiba. It's written down that you will fast. Maybe literally. But of course, the meaning is that that law has been made. They've been made compulsory for you. You have to do it. Again, Lima Kutabta Alainal Qital, chapter 4, verse 76. Why did you make jihad? Actually, this is a mistranslation here. The translation, why did you make jihad? Why did you impose jihad as a duty on us so early? But the word in Arabic is not jihad. Lima kutibat alaynal qital. Jihad is not used there. And this is where confusion arises, that people translate things and they put their own interpretation on it. The word is qital, which means literally could be killing or fighting. So why did you make fighting? Why did you impose on us the duty to fight to defend Islam? But people who translate it, particularly into Urdu, they say, why did you impose upon us jihad as a duty? But jihad is not the word used there. Jihad is much broader. As the Holy Prophet said, when returning from fighting, he referred to fighting as jihad-e-saghir, the minor struggle, and jihad bin nafs, controlling your own desires and feelings and so on. He called jihad-e-kabir, the greater jihad. So this is something that people should be careful about, that we impose, and this is the problem with translations, that people impose their own thoughts and ideas when translating. And this is why we're lucky that we have the original in Arabic of the Holy Quran. And this is why Muslims, go to such lengths. Although translations of the Holy Quran with Arabic and so on, they cost much more to print because you have to have the Arabic calligraphed. And when you print it, then, the number of pages is 2 or 3 times the number of pages it would have been if it was only English or Urdu or whatever. But I mean, take the example of the verse that I just recited. If the original wasn't there, I'd be reading, why did you make jihad? Why did you impose jihad as a duty on us so early, so soon? It doesn't say jihad. The original says qital, fighting. And then, of course, we have Balagha Rusuluna Ladayhim Yaktubun, chapter 43, verse 80. Yes, they hear it all. And our angels note everything down, write everything down. Now, here notice Balagha Rusuluna, my messengers. So the word Rasul is used here for angels. And this is what people fail to understand. When they talk about Rasul, they think it's, of course it is, like Jesus and Jacob and so on. That this word has a much wider application even in the Holy Quran itself. People, ordinary people, bearing a message. This word is used for that, Rasul. Balagha Rusuluna Ladayhim Yaktubun. And they write everything. Now the question is, do all the angels have pens and paper and so on? I know army officers are told that you must always have a pen and a piece of paper in your pocket in case something happens that you need to note it down. But how do angels write down these things? Yaktubun is the word used. Somehow, there is some means of preserving everything that we do. What it is we don't know. All we know is that all our actions, everything that we do, is going to be preserved. And one day we'll have to account for those deeds. And this is what people forget. And another important thing that we should remember is that generally it is thought that when the Holy Prophet Muhammad passed away, the Holy Quran was sort of scattered all over the place. It was on bits of leather and some paper and etc., etc. Even bones and leaves. And the Holy Prophet hadn't compiled it in the form that we have it now. But the fact that, the word kitab is used shows that it wasn't all scattered. Kitab, as we started off, it says something that is bound together. You take two things and you sew them together. And in fact, one thing I didn't remember during the Urdu broadcast is this. That the old story about Hazrat Umar radiallahu ta'ala, he wasn't a Muslim at the time, and he became very angry, and he thought, I'm going to go and martyr the Holy Prophet Muhammad and end this thing, etc. And someone met him and they said, well, first take care of your home. Your sister and brother-in-law have to embrace Islam. Now, the next part of the story is when Hazrat Umar arrived, his sister and brother-in-law were reciting the Holy Quran. They heard Hazrat Umar and they hid the pages. on which that revelation was written. So that shows that from the very beginning, the Holy Quran was being written. Then there's the other incident that I think it was Surah Qasr that was written and nailed to the Kaaba with a challenge, produce something like this. So, and the other thing is, you have to remember that the Holy Quran was recited in Taraweeh during Ramadan. And even if it wasn't recited in Taraweeh, people like to read it from cover to cover, from beginning to end. If it didn't have a structure, if it hadn't been compiled into a book, how would people be able to learn it by heart and then recite it during Taraweeh prayers? If it wasn't available, like, something compiled, then different people had different bits and pieces. What happened? I read all the bits and pieces I had, and then I knocked on the neighbor's door and I said, "Dear, look, I've finished the bits and pieces that I had. Can I borrow your stuff? After I finish reciting that, I'll bring it back to you." We know this didn't happen. There's no mention of this. So that shows that the Holy Quran was compiled in this form, in the form that we have it, by the Holy Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam himself. And that was what made it possible for people to commit it to memory. Without that, it wasn't possible. So, with that, I take my leave of you with the prayer that whoever you are and wherever you may be, may Allah keep all of you safe and sound and free from harm. Assalamu alaikum. Khuda Hafiz. Goodbye.